everyone, we are back with another astrology shot of the day. And I'm really glad to be back because I almost didn't get the videos in this week. It's been a very busy week. I've had a couple pretty big speaking opportunities in the astrological world this week. And there's a lot happening in the world. So there's been a lot to cover outside of this space and in the lecture space. So with that said, I'm just going to plug it. I have quite a few speaking engagements coming up over the next quarter. So if you're interested, check it out on my website. And I'm sure you can, if you're interested in the topics, you can attend. But today I could not possibly hold out on you because we've been talking about Mars and Venus, and it's important that we follow up. So Mars and Venus have been doing this dance and been traveling very tightly together for some time. If you look back at my last video when I forecasted about Venus and Mars's conjunction in Capricorn, and we've been talking about them in Capricorn. We had the sextile to Neptune. We had the conjunction with Pluto that we just had. So we're finishing up a lot of the Venus retrograde story themes now with Mars in the picture. So it would seem that something is beginning, right, with Mars and Venus conjoining. But one of my friends, colleagues, mentors, teachers, Gary Caton, he likes to point out that this is actually an ending because Venus and Mars actually will make 3 conjunctions together before they reach an opposition, which is like the full moon phase of the planetary relationship. And then there will be 3 more conjunctions that happen. This is something that Alexander Ruperti covers in the book Cycles of Becoming. But so here we are wrapping up the 3rd Venus-Mars conjunction. The first one was back in July of 2021. And then we, of course, had the one in Capricorn just a couple of weeks ago on the 16th of February. And here we are again, March 5th and 6th, depending on which time zone you're in. We're having this 3rd Mars-Venus conjunction. This time Venus is catching up to Mars. Hand in hand, they're walking into Aquarius together. So it would seem that we're at least turning over a new leaf. We're turning over a new leaf, maybe in our partnership, maybe on the theme of relationships, maybe what relationships look like to us, our relationship with relationships, how we feel that it's important for ourselves to show up now and in this time in our lives. You might also want to look at where Mars and Venus rule house-wise in your chart to get a little bit more clarity on what is kind of coming together for you. Where are you kind of turning over a new leaf as we kind of wrap up this old chapter? I know I'm thinking about what was going on in July of 2021 and trying to piecemeal that together with kind of what's coming together right now. Sometimes when you're in it, it's hard to really recognize the full story. So keep it in mind. What's happening this week and how that might connect to July is going to give you a lot of details over what this cycle is bringing to a close for you. But it is important that Mars and Venus are changing signs. So the broad overview that I want us to pay attention to here, because I'm going to cram a lot into this video, is that definitely kind of moving, we're still in a Saturn ruled sign, but we're kind of, with both planets in Aquarius, there's a definite theme around, if you're a technical minded person, if you consider yourself a nerd, if you consider yourself someone who likes to kind of just tone out everything else and kind of just nerd out on your process, this is really a good time for you because we're going to have 4 planets in Aquarius. We're going to have Mercury, Saturn, Venus, and Mars in Aquarius just for a handful of days before Mercury changes signs. We'll talk about that next week. But yeah, there's going to be just a lot happening in Aquarius. And Aquarius is kind of level-headed. They stay kind of cool, detached from letting emotions kind of steer the ship in a way. It's a very cerebral time to have all these planets together in Aquarius. It's great for problem solving, depersonalization, and just kind of staying focused on what it is that you're doing. So if you're someone that gets in your feels a lot or gets in your head a lot, like in a way that's kind of counterproductive, this lineup of planets can help you to stay focused on your process. And just focus on what it is that you've got going on right in front of you and just do the thing and continue to get excited and nerd out and innovate on it, and you're going to be just fine. But I want to circle back to Venus for a second, because the big thing that's going to be happening now is that now that Venus is caught up to Mars and Venus has passed Mars, now Venus is going to be in what we call an enclosure. She's besieged between the two malefics, between Mars and Saturn. Mars is going to keep kind of pushing up against Venus. It's as if Venus is kind of running away from Mars. And, Mars is going to corner her into Saturn. So one way that we could look at this is it's as if we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And if you go back to my original video, which I recorded over a month ago, before we knew that all this stuff was going to happen in the world with Ukraine and Russia, I had predicted that maybe we'd see another COVID variant. If you check the news every day, they're always like, we see a new variant. I've changed my mind about that. I don't think we're going to see a new variant necessarily. I think what this Venus enclosure is talking about is everything that's happening in the world between these feuding superpowers in the world. Because Venus deals with how we find ease and how we find pleasure and how we enjoy ourselves in life. It also deals with finances. So to see this planet between two malefics, it does not paint a pretty or comfortable picture. So what we're seeing here is, price gouging. We've been seeing that with the inflation. We've seen like the corporate price gouging, like, oh, it's a shortage. Sure. But we are seeing the price of a gallon of gas go all the way up. This crisis here is affecting the cost of oil, gas, other natural resources. And I think it's also affecting cryptocurrency. We saw a big plunge happen when Russia invaded Ukraine. So for us in the rest of the world, we are feeling the effects of this financially, resource-wise. We're even seeing the vodka being pulled off the shelves as well, at least Russian vodka. And if you are someone who is living a little bit closer or even within the conflict, then we could talk about the sanctions being put on Russia, not having access to Google or Pornhub, I guess, was like, no, we're not going to let you access us, Russia. So thinking about sanctions, and thinking about how these sanctions could threaten the collapse of the Russian economy and boom, all that, how that could affect the rest of the world even. Venus being besieged by the two malefics is going to tell you about that. Being between a rock and a hard place. Going from a bad situation possibly to a worse situation. So the date that you want to mark on your calendar for when this is over, because everyone wants to know, when is this shitty transit over? That's going to be March 28th is when Venus finally conjoins Saturn. Luckily, Venus and Saturn, I think they can get along. They both share rulership in the sign of Libra. So we'll see kind of what solidifies or crystallizes around that time. There's going to definitely be some negotiations around that time, around the terms of a relationship. And in the mundane context, thinking about the relationships of nations. So that's a big thing that's kind of up in the air right now. And it's actually a good thing this is happening in kind of a cool, more level-headed sign of Aquarius, rather than, say, like a very passionate fire sign. Like, this is actually a good thing. So we can see that that kind of close out on the 28th. We'll still feel that conjunction for a little bit. But what we really are going to be looking forward to here is April, because that is when Venus will be making a conjunction to Jupiter, Neptune. April's looking like a pretty beautiful, magical, heart-opening month. I have so much more I want to say about that, but I do need to make this video, need to close this up. So yeah, even during that enclosure though, Venus will also form a square with Uranus. That should be interesting. That's going to happen on the 19th, right around the Virgo full moon. So things are going to kind of heat up around that time, I suspect. But until then, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. This isn't the coziest of time for anyone. So we'll see how that sort of continues to play out. But before that really sets in, I also want to take a moment and just give a shout out to the Jupiter cazimi. That's going to happen on the 5th of March. And this is going to carry over some of those really good vibes from that new moon. That new moon in Pisces. Hopefully you watched that video. But I just want to say one thing about the sign of Pisces. It is a mutable sign. It is a double-bodied sign, which means that we're going to see people get the huge benefits from Jupiter and Pisces, the expansive, the positivity, the flow of abundance, and we're going to see people kind of having a tough time of it. So hopefully the Jupiter cazimi is good for everyone, because then we're getting the best qualities of Jupiter. So I want to just say, if you had kind of a more challenging Pisces new moon, specifically, I know there's been talk about Sag risings having a tougher time. I've heard Pisces risings too. Jupiter people, this is supposed to be your time. So if it's not, usually Jupiter's magnifying something that needs to move or shift. But hopefully this cazimi brings it all together for you in full view. By then, we should have the moon starting to catch some light after the new moon. Things should start to kind of come into view a little bit more. So hopefully this Jupiter cazimi is really lovely, and everyone's able to kind of squeeze the most out of this once in 12 years Jupiter and Pisces deliciousness. So we should have deeper access to, or more direct access to, themes of abundance. But abundance in Jupiter terms is really being grateful enough, feeling prosperous, feeling blessed enough to really recognize where your abundance is. Sometimes the shadow side of Jupiter is wanting more. And of course, you could always want more. That's why greed is a disease, and billionaires aren't helping us shift the infrastructure of this planet when we need it most. But anyhow, we get the best qualities of Jupiter with that cazimi. So count your blessings. Feel gratitude to the universe. It's going to come back to you. I think the element of hopefulness for the year ahead, the hopefulness for the end of the pandemic, hopefully, fingers crossed on that. And just feeling grateful for what we do have. It's very often in times of intensity and conflict that we hold on to the things that we cherish the most. So I think that that's what Jupiter wants us to remember, is that, when push comes to shove, we are blessed and we have it good. So with that said, I'm going to close out this video. Thanks for being here, and I will catch you next time. That was your astrology shot of the day. Bye.